Boom! Coming back at you, Dr. Fabulous. So what I want to talk about here, filtering into the Fab movement, right? We want to get you motivated, we want to help you guys grow, we want to provide value to you, because we want to build you up. Rising tide lifts all boats. So, we just brainstormed here. What are the factors of success that I believe in? There's a lot of factors, but I do a lot of reading, I acquire a lot of knowledge, and I see certain patterns, a lot of themes that consistently come up. Number one, gratitude, first and foremost, okay? Because if you're not appreciating, if you're not grateful for what's going on, you can forget it. Because at that point, you're kind of like, you're in the future, you're in the past, you're not in the moment. And when you're in the moment, that's when flow happens. There's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, he talks about flow. And flow means when you're at absolute focus, your energy rises because you're in your element. And I think gratitude takes you to your element. So for me, myself, I'm a very spiritual person. And I think because I know that this is much bigger than us. The world is bigger than me, it's bigger than you. There is, a higher power in the universe, I believe. Whatever takes you there, religion can take you there, whatever, but you gotta have that spirituality, whatever your higher power is, and that is gratitude right there. So start my day with gratitude, whether it's prayer, meditation. I write a gratitude list, especially if I'm having a bad day or if I'm feeling down, and that sets perspective right there. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for waking up in the morning, for breathing, for being alive. I'm grateful that I'm at a point in my career that I want to give back, I want to contribute. So those are just a few things. I'm grateful for my health, grateful for my family, grateful for my dog, Linus. So grateful to these guys, the iLegends team, man. We've been growing together and we just leave these things so pumped up. So do not forget this, okay? Because you can have all this stuff, but if you don't have gratitude, it's not sustainable, So next, mindset. We're our biggest enemies a lot of time. So you got to tackle that. You got to flip your mindset from a negative mindset, which is easy, because the world, life is not fair sometimes, a lot of times. And the mindset can really bring you down, because there's a lot of stuff that happens. You can focus on the news, the bad news that's going on. You can focus on your failures. You can focus on what's not happening in your life. But if you come from a mindset of gratitude, so keeps going back to that, to gratitude. So for me, again, this all is in order for a reason. So the mindset, you come from a positive mindset. I know it's cliche, but to get there takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness. Because we got to figure out what makes us tick. Whether it's good or bad, we want to figure out what makes us tick in that way. And we want to focus on what's positive, what we can gain that's positive, to keep feeding our mindset. And it's a mindset of belief. I've been told a lot of times, particularly with what I do, they're like, don't go into medicine because the money's not there, it's too challenging. But I've said this before, most if not all important endeavors in life are challenging. It's not easy, whether it's marriage, whether it's career, whether it's being a father, being a wife, all that stuff, being a good son, being a good daughter. It's hard work, and it's hard work for a reason, because it's challenging, but that hard work is so worth it. So get the right mindset. There's power in words. If someone tells you you can't do it, that's accepting defeat right there. Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So take a shot, because if you don't, then you got to take, forget it, you got to take action. So number one, again, mindset is belief. Will Smith also says you got to be somewhat delusional to be successful in life. And I'm not talking about career, I'm talking about in life in general. He says, I think I can be president, so if you're believing that you can do it, it's amazing what your mind, what your subconscious can do to take you there. So next, if you don't have the right mindset, you won't find passion in life. You got to find what your passions are, what speak to you. Be authentic to what your passions are. We were talking about before about skateboarding. Some people from the outside world can look at skateboarders as weird, as counterculture, but if you love it, stick with it. Being weird is good. It's authentic, and authenticity is so important because for me it took a while to be comfortable with my authenticity. Because I hear a lot of people making fun of me or whatnot, or like making fun of myself in my head. But luckily I'm at a point. It took a lot of work to be true to my authenticity, be comfortable with my authenticity, to be proud. So my passions, if you follow me on Instagram, is what I do, orthopedics. My passions continue to grow. Motorsport, University of Michigan, of course. What I find more and more my passions is contribution. And I think if you come from a selfless attitude, another pattern that I've seen, you're helping others, you're giving value to others. That's what keeps me working hard. Because the harder I work, the more options, the more opportunity I have to give back. So that continues to fuel itself. And that factors in right there, hard work, okay? Nothing comes easy. You got to put it in. You got to put in the time. There's no shortcuts. I think it was who was it? It was King Solomon, and I think his principles have laid true. Is like, there's no easy buck. I don't want to use money as a thing, but you kind of get the theme there. That there's no. If it's too good to be true, it usually is. You got to put in hard work. And that the hard work, the grind, what I call it. Going back to skateboarding again. The grind rewards you if you do it for the right things. If you're coming from gratitude, if you're coming from mindset, and you're coming from your passion. So the grind rewards, okay? So, with your hard work, you gotta attain knowledge, okay? For me, and I think a lot of successful people, Warren Buffett says, the best investment you can make is in yourself and also knowledge. He would make it a point to read 500 pages a day. And now, luckily, with what we have, they say 97% of all knowledge is on the internet. And now there are avenues that when I was growing up, I had to go to the library, I had to look it up, had to get a book, but now it's at your fingertips. And what I like to do, I listen to audiobooks. I listen to about 2 or 3 audiobooks a week because that leads to my growth. And when you're growing, growth is happiness. That's what Tony Robbins says. So I'm always feeding my brain. And the more that I learn, it opens up the world. So for example, something like as simple as like a Pellegrino or a Perrier bottle. It shows. Before I would look at it, it's just a soda water, it's a sparkling water bottle. But throughout reading, I found out it was a game of millimeters, that their sales weren't so great. But all they do, they're like, one idea, they're like, let's make it look like a wine bottle. Let's make it look like a beer bottle, and skyrocketed. So now I look at that bottle as like, I know the significance behind it. And that opens up the world, So it's not one of those things, I understand that thing, ignorance is bliss, in some ways it is, but the more knowledge that you have, the more that you can appreciate how beautiful this world is. So, do all these things, but if you don't have the grit, so how do we define grit? Grit is courage. Excuse my doctor handwriting. Courage, okay? You gotta be brave, you gotta be courageous, because there's gonna be a lot of odds against you a lot of times. And if you're not meeting that with courage, and courage means, yeah, you may have fears, but to me, courage is, in spite of those fears, you're addressing and attacking those fears. So courage, strength of character. To be a good leader, you gotta have strength of character. And that character has gotta be, good hands, University of Michigan, former wide receiver. Anyway, so strength of character, okay? And I'm not talking about strength of character from an arrogant standpoint, from being a dominant, person. I'm talking about strength of character in terms of integrity, ethics, being a valiant person. that University of Michigan taught me. So that's grit. Grit is also no quit attitude. So, okay, grit is courage, strength of character, and what was the last one? So anyway, pretty close. This grit leads to a no quit attitude, okay? You may have failures. We're all gonna have failures along the way. Don't be scared of failure, welcome failure, you know? Because true failure is when you quit. True success is when you keep going despite failings. I don't like to use failures, I like to use failings as those times where things didn't go right. Because that's where you learn. And that goes back to knowledge, okay? And you know, Mark Zuckerberg, one of his biggest MOs is like, you know, you just gotta, he had a lot of failings along the way, but he didn't stop. He had that grit, you know, he kept going through, and look at them now, you know, and he's in ventures, Facebook's in ventures where, yeah, they experienced some failures, but all it takes is that one. You know, Thomas Edison, 1,000 experiments before he got to the light bulb. That's what it took, all those failings, to achieve that one thing, you know, and then he got a breakthrough. And we all know who it is, hopefully. So, last one is dedication, because you got to stay consistent with it. You got to keep going. You got to keep going, because if you're not dedicated to it, then you can forget it. You know, you're not taking action, you're not staying consistent. But if you find your true passion, you know, this is also going to filter down to this. True passion will make you work hard. It'll make you work sleepless nights. It'll make you want to acquire knowledge. It'll give you grit, not wanting to quit. You know, it'll give you dedication, and true passion comes from the heart. And that's all of this stuff, especially this one. So, all this stuff leads to getting in tune with your heart, because that's true. Because if you're coming from a good heart, doesn't fail you every time. So sorry, I'm getting a little choked up with that, but that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Good stuff.